Hear that? That's the rain. That's the rain. That's why.
Hey, everybody. Carter's back. The little drummer
Hi,
boy.
guys.
The little drummer boy is back.
Yep, I've been gone for a while.
So what you been doing on your sabbatical,
Oh,
Carter?
God, there's been a lot.
You've been gone for months and months and months, and people have been wondering, where's Carter?
Well, we've had a lot of changes. A lot of different things have happened.
I have not been talking about what's going on with our personal life, by the way. When I've been doing my solo thing, I just like let it all rip and get into the cosmic connection, which is my favorite, place to be.
It fits in with what is real and good and important, which is what we usually try to talk about, what really counts.
So what you been doing for the last couple of months that we haven't heard from you on ZLORD?
Well,
I have heard from you,
We
by
decided to completely move and change our living situation, which had become a little bit stagnant, I think, with just too much stuff.
A little oppressive,
Yeah.
right? Too much stuff.
So we got rid of
too many responsibilities to keep track of, and all that stuff, that goes along with things.
Yeah, and there just was too much stuff in here. So we got rid of about 80% of it. We just unloaded it. Mm-hmm. Gave whatever we were going to give to the kids after we passed. We gave all that to them and got rid of a huge amount of film stuff and a lot of your artwork and a lot of possessions, general stuff that we had. We just cleared out. It's been a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's very
And we were actually going to move, but circumstances made it such that we're going to stay here. So.
Well, we have a beautiful paradise that we've created, and we said, what the hell are we doing? Why would we want to leave paradise just because
So we could get away from
it was oppressing us?
because there's a lot to do here all the time, and we were looking for a way to eliminate a lot of the busy day-to-day drudge work that we deal with. That actually is not drudge work. It's a function of. I came to realize that. Things are only become drudge if that's the way it exists in your mind.
If that's your attitude.
If that's your attitude.
If you think that like doing the dishes is a drudge, it's going to be hellish. But if you think, it's my privilege and my honor.
Yeah, and here's an opportunity to think about something interesting, and I actually that was brought to my attention in a prayer group I'm involved in. Where it came up that all things with God are new, to keep all things new all the time.
You mean in spirit, in connection, when we are dedicated to realizing that we are spiritual beings, not just material people having needs and desires, but that we're attuned to the higher aspects of our humanity, being in tune with God. That's what you're talking about.
Well, It's easy for me and probably everybody else too to get wrapped up in my own stuff and then think about the same stuff over and over again all the time, and then revisit things that don't need revisiting and that are just keeping me from expanding my mind and expanding my horizons and keeping the boundaries of life elastic and keep pushing the boundaries all the time and exploring and getting out into new things and new places and new relationships with God all the time, exploring more and more.
So how do you do that, Carter? So you're talking about something that's terrific, and everybody would, me included, I would always like to keep things fresh and keep things new, and I know I have my little techniques. But what are you?
Well, I think it's like it's being aware of it and being aware that having it be consciously in my mind that's the way I'm gonna look at things. So like when I went for a simple thing, like went for a walk the other day, and we all live in this world, and we all have got beautiful little plants and little ants and little birds, and we've all got stuff. We've all got grass. We've all, our tree. We all have these things close to us, and it's real easy to just see them the same all the time. But we don't have to see them the same all the time because they're so huge, and so there's so much involved in a tree or a plant or anything, any little nature thing, which is an expression of God, this unbelievable expression of God that surrounds us everywhere, no matter where we are, and no matter how long we've been in the same place all the time. Is as long as I can look at it with fresh eyes and look at different parts of it, then I can see it differently and see everything differently all day, every single day. Everything is new as long as I look at it that way and open my mind that way. So I tried it, and dang, it works.
Wait a minute, you went off on a conscious kind of exercise to have a walk.
A simple walk around the neighborhood. And I know this neighborhood.
Wait, you did this by yourself?
I did it with you.
Oh, with me. Oh,
and I started telling you about it. It was about 3 weeks ago. I started telling you about it. I says, man, I started talking about all the new things, and we started pointing out the new things and said, look at that tree and look at this and look at that. And we had a great walk that day. And it was because I was consciously pointing out all the stuff that I'm so used to all the time, and then I usually just look past it and don't think about it. Mm-hmm. But like how the how the hawk flies, and where the hummingbird is in relation to the mockingbird, and all these. And we live next to the ocean, so we have this tide coming in and out all the time. So it's constantly different,
changing. So we're never the same.
We're lucky to have.
Never the same.
We're lucky to have that.
But how about somebody who lives in New York City, which you and I both have, way before we met and married, and it's the concrete jungle. So what would you say to somebody who, they leave their apartment and it's cement, and maybe there's more cement.
Yeah, but there's trees everywhere.
And there's one tree.
There's
bushes,
on the block. There's
maybe.
one tree, but the tree has got the xylem and the phloem and all the little tiny parts of it, and the bark and the little new leaf and the little new thing, and the spring is coming and there's new stuff happening, and that tree is alive. And not only is it alive, but it is connected to other trees and other plants, and it's actually, in fact, it's connected to the entire continuum of life.
Okay, Carter, you're talking my language here.
It's taken me a while to come to grips with this. We are one business.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that these months that you have, not participated in podcasting, and I've been, trying to talk to myself for these past months, which is always kind of weird, but I didn't want to lose the momentum. Do you think it had this kind of benefit? I mean, does it have anything to do with the sabbatical that you've taken because we've been podcasting now for 6 years. That's a long time to have something regularly.
I don't think necessarily it does, but
it was just a coincidence.
I think it's good to take time. Well, I think I'm constantly trying to always. I'm trying to become aware of when I'm feeling a little bit down in the dumps and not excited about life. And I do know that there is so much in life. There's no possible way I can ever even approach 1/zillionth of it all. And all you have to do is look up in the sky at night and just open my mind to all that's out there to know how tiny I am. And there's so many different things in life that are exciting and interesting, like my mind and my body, and I'm going through all these body changes, and there's just a never-ending, constantly changing, moving, growing, new stuff. And if I don't recognize it, that's on me. If I don't open my mind to the excitement of the day, every single new day, and try to look at what's in front of me with new eyes and see something I didn't see before, then that's on me. And I'm choosing to drift down into the mundane. There is no such thing as mundane. There's only our experiencing of it and our perceptions of it.
Yeah.
Everything is new and fresh all the time, every single day, all the time. And
I'm very
it's
excited
a great
to hear you talking
exercise
like
to
this,
think
Carter.
about it that way, because it makes the day a lot more fun.
I'm very excited to hear you talking like this, because really, when we sit down to do this ritual called, the ZLORD podcast, it's different than our everyday, ordinary, mundane life, cooking, washing, cleaning, doing our work, or having a meal, and, doing our walk. So it is different. And so I get to hear and understand a different side of you. And this is not a big surprise to me. I've always known that you have this deep connection to spirit. But a lot of times you are not that comfortable talking about it. So for me, this is a real pleasure.
Guys are like that.
Guys, you think it's just a gender thing? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think you can be that blasé about gender differentiation.
One of the worst things that can ever happen to a guy is for his wife to say,
Let's
need
talk.
to talk.
Let's talk. Right.
Excuse me. But, I've been reading a great book lately, a very interesting book, and I just never knew much about this guy, and it's about Humboldt, Alexander von Humboldt.
Wait a minute, you got to say Alexander von Humboldt.
Humboldt, and then it's the guy that they named the Humboldt Current after over on the Pacific coast.
Whoa, no, wait a minute. That current, as a navigator, that's a pretty big current, isn't it?
It's like the Gulf Stream, but it's over on the Pacific side. And
it's huge. Anybody who sails knows about the Humboldt
current. It goes
current.
the other direction. It goes from
in
north to south.
Okay.
As opposed to south.
But
to
he
north.
wasn't a sailor. They just named, because he was an explorer, but he was not sailing, right?
He was an explorer. He was
on foot.
And he was about 30 years older than Darwin. Darwin's the guy that came up with the origin of species idea.
Yeah.
And he took the beagle down into South America, spent 5 years,
right.
and then came back and he wrote about the origin of species. And everybody always talks about Darwin, but you don't hear much about Humboldt, and I just had never known much about him. Mm-hmm. And basically, Darwin just expanded on Humboldt. Humboldt was the first one to go out, and he went into South America when nobody really knew much about South America that was from the quote-unquote educated world, or the
civilized world.
The civilized world.
Right, the Western world.
There's a lot of people down there, mainly the Spanish had taken control, and they were basically exploiting for mining, but they weren't really exploiting for agricultural, which is what Thomas Jefferson was doing in our country, and they were in the 18. This is
exploiting slavery.
This is like 1790.
Is that what you're talking about, slavery?
Well, I'm talking about slavery, but I'm also talking about the exploitation of digging minerals out, and basically, as opposed to growing things that are sustainable and to keep growing. The mining requires a lot of labor, and so slavery, promotes slavery, but it also promotes not taking very good care of the environment.
Right, exploitation all around.
And nobody had really,
and planetary.
And this is like 17. It's right around the American Revolution, just right in that time, early 1800, and there was a talk about how to, how's the best way to have a society, and the U.S. was forming, and Jefferson was the third president, and he was an agricultural guy. He envisioned that we would be an agricultural, agrarian society, and this was, and what was happening was that nobody really thought so much about this stuff because everybody had just been so busy struggling to survive that there had not really been an idea of that everything is part of one thing. Everything is connected. And Humboldt was really the first guy to start talking about this, and then it segued into Darwin and the origin of the species, that it's all
I got to ask you a question. Okay. I don't mean to
Sorry.
interrupt you, Carter. I know you get going for the full steam. Okay, so basically you're talking about oneness. So Humboldt, I'm curious because you read about him. I have not yet read. So did he come up with this concept himself when he started being a naturalist, or did he acquire that
He
concept
acquired it.
by hanging out with the indigenous? Did they teach him about oneness, or did he just perceive it?
He perceived it. He acquired it by being so energetic and so strong and such a great adventurer and so open-minded and curious about the world.
Because it is an indigenous concept.
It is
you know?
an indigenous
It's,
concept.
Indigenous throughout the world all talk about interconnectedness.
And he spoke about part of it was meeting the indigenous and realizing, and he was a very equal guy. He met everybody face to face equally. He had zero prejudice, zero judgment about anybody else. He just took everybody at face value.
Except he didn't hang out with women too much, you said.
He wasn't attracted for some reason to female relationships because he was real handsome and he was real dashing and exciting and famous. And
no
so,
woman could keep up with him.
well, women would throw themselves at him at parties and stuff, and he just wouldn't give them any time. So for whatever reason, he wasn't interested in human relationships. He was interested in the earth and in nature and exploring, because nobody from Europe had been to Latin America, really. Not really. They were kind of, the Spanish occupied different cities and mining centers, but they weren't really spread out much. The indigenous were out there, and there were people living out there, but nobody was really relating it and to Europe or other parts of the world.
Or to their own personal relationship with life, right? The whole fact that everything is interconnected. That's a real personal connection that you're talking about, that Humboldt brought into his studies.
Well, the first thing was he was very adventurous and exploring, exciting. So he went around the Alps and all around Europe and Switzerland and Austria and Germany and France, and he was a mountain climber too. So he would climb up to the top of these mountains, and he noticed all these various different plants and stuff. And so then when he went to South America, and the thinking at that time was that the earth had grown from becoming an earth at the beginning, and then it just kind of wore down over time through rain and streams and just kind of wore down. But when he went down to South America, there's a lot of volcanoes down there. There's only 2 volcanoes in Europe, Mount Etna and Vesuvius. And so he didn't know much about volcanoes. Nobody really thought about it much. But down there's a lot of them. And he ran across them because he was out in the jungle. And then he went up into Colombia and Quito and Ecuador and Peru, and he stumbled across these volcanoes. And then he climbed them all. And he climbed this one called, I think it's called Chorimbazo or something. But anyway, it's 21,000 feet.
In Ecuador, you said?
This is in Ecuador, near Quito, and they thought that was the largest mountain on Earth because there hadn't been a lot of exploration around the Himalayas either.
Oh my God, they didn't know about Everest yet.
They just didn't know.
Wow.
But what he saw as he was climbing these, and he climbed a bunch. He climbed them all the ones that were near Quito, like 7 or 8 of them. And man, this is not easy climbing. It's cold. It's snow. Climbing mountains is a hard thing to do, among other things.
But let's stay focused on that interconnectedness, that oneness that Humboldt
here's what happened.
really helped you to understand, because this is what's interesting me. I mean, we all want to hear about how our perceptions of life have changed through the explorers and everything, but hitting upon that theme of oneness rings true to something that I am very, very curious about.
Well, I can do this quickly.
No, you don't have to do it quickly.
I can do it quickly because in the process of climbing these he saw the patterns that as he climbed up in elevation, the plants were the same, not only on the volcanoes and not only in all parts of South America, but they were the same plants that basically were at those elevations in Europe as well. But he knew about that, but nobody else did because nobody else had done it.
Right.
So he was the first guy, and he was also a fanatic about drawing taking notes and taking.
He was a naturalist.
He was a naturalist.
Yeah,
And
naturalists
so
do that.
He was the first guy that connected the fact that all the stuff that's on Earth is connected to it, to it is connected, and there's nothing that's separate and that's not connected to the other part. And so that was the very first guy, and that's pretty late when you think of it in life. That's
In Western civilization, yeah, because
early 1800s.
nobody was writing books in the
late
indigenous
1700s.
world.
Yeah,
In the
that's
book
right.
world.
The indigenous
I mean, the
weren't writing
indigenous
this
world,
down.
this has been the theme. This is life for the indigenous person, for the primitive people who, don't necessarily even know how to write in the historical, evolution of our human family. So I'm curious. Okay, so did he catch a glimpse of this oneness through the volcanic interconnectedness,
No,
like
just it
suspecting
came up.
that, like we know now that there is a layer of lava, there is this molten core of the earth. I mean, did they even suspect that?
No,
at that
nobody
time?
knew that. Nobody had. He's the first guy that thought that the Earth had been formed by volcanic eruptions, as opposed to just wearing down of something that was already in place by rain and just the elements. So he introduced a whole new concept that all these volcanoes were connected underneath the Earth.
And the other concept is we're constantly seeing the recreation of things when there's eruptions.
Right.
That's something new coming out. It's not just wearing down. So
That's different than erosion.
right. So the eruption of something it's like you can say that's happening in our world today. There's this eruption of chaos that people are feeling, and it's not all bad. It's all about change and newness. I'm just bringing in a metaphor, that's striking me as you're talking about the eruption factor versus erosion.
So
just
anyway,
wearing down of the old.
But anyway, so then he brought back and wrote these books, and he basically changed the whole way that the world thinks. And then and Darwin read his books and got excited. And so Darwin took it another step forward. He went on his trip, and he came up with the origin of species.
Did they
idea.
meet?
They were friends.
The two men met?
Well, he was
the mentor.
He was
to
mentor of Darwin. And Darwin really stood on his shoulders to further this concept and this whole idea of the interconnectedness and the species evolution of species as it goes all the places that he went around.
Right.
But
And of course that went against all the teachings of theology and religion.
Right.
Like we were just like, boom, we were just made one day, for the biblical version.
it was new thinking, but it's not that long ago. It's only like 200 years ago.
Right.
Because this is
200?
2000.
Really?
Well, that was 1800, early 1800s.
Wow, it's amazing.
And now this is early 2000. This is 200 years ago.
Wow,
so
it's
all
amazing.
this whole Darwin thing and all this stuff that we think now that's so big and the Big Bang and all that stuff.
It makes
is
you
all
stand in
recent.
awe to think what's going to be the reality in 200 years from now. I mean, really, just take that thought.
Oh my God.
In just
Lucky if we're
just-
here.
Yeah, well,
But we'll be out there, even if we're not
no,
here.
you
in
and I will
physical.
not be here, but
We'll be out
the
there
species,
floating around.
the Earth will be here, but it's awesome to
The
think
Earth may
about
not be
what
here.
has happened in the last just 200 years, when humanity has been around for 50,000 years, they think. Before that, there were other creatures. They come, they go extinct. The meteors come, and
Look how fast everything is happening now. The climate change and the seas are going to rise. I mean, there's all kind of stuff going on and it's accelerating. And now the AI is here, which is going to drastically change everything. And I mean, you don't have to think much further than to see Ukraine bombing the Russians with a bunch of drones.
So before we get into that, okay, Carter, really,
A-bombs can start getting thrown.
Before we get into all that, I'd like to just throw in the thought that what is real is our spiritual connection to this experience.
Yes.
If people don't have that, there is going to be enough cause for panic and fear and all those other anxiety-producing emotions and realities and situations. But to me, this is an opportunity. is happening right here, right now, is an opportunity for transformation on a personal level, every
Yes.
day, every moment, and also as a human blended family of our species, to just let's go into the next realm, which is the spiritualization of our species. I mean,
And here's how you would do that.
Oh,
I've got
Carter.
an answer for that
yes.
too.
Do you have a
an answer to
guidance
all
for
these
us?
things.
Oh,
The
we have
answer
we have
man.
missed so much, Carter. You telling us what to do. Thank you so much. Here you go,
Yes.
folks.
So these things you're talking about this is the mundane. All this stuff is the mundane and the physical and stuff we can touch and see, but then there's also the ineffable, the spiritual world, God, the cosmos, the spiritual forces, the higher things, and that's basically
The magic.
That's basically what I was talking about. That if you keep things new, and if you look at the mundane with new eyes all the time, then you also look at the expanse and the cosmos with new eyes all the time. So there can be a continuous, everyday opening and expanding. And the best way to do that, I heard a great talk about this 2 days ago, and that is to get a meditation practice going. Because if it's true that Jesus said that God is within you and is within me, is within us, and you don't necessarily have to buy into the Jesus thing, I don't think, to do that. If you accept the fact that all things are within us, then if we go within, we can discover these things if we can get within and get past that monkey mind and that loud voice that's running off inside of our minds all the time. And it's been a proven fact and known worldwide for thousands of years that if one will take a quiet moment every day and go inside and try to still that mind and listen to what your inside, which is where God lives in you, will tell you, will speak to you and enlighten you and open me and enlighten me and help and let me get in touch with the cosmos, which is right inside of me. This is the ultimate exploration. And the thing that was great about this little meditation talk was that there are as many ways to meditate as there are people meditating, because we're all different. And what works for me, and what works for that guy may not work for you. And I have a hard time, for instance, with the sitting down for 20 minutes and going down and sitting in the chair and meditating for 20 minutes and then it's over. For some reason, some people, every once in a while I can get to the blue pearl and I can really get high on that, but it's rare. It doesn't happen to me all the time. Now for you, I know that you're getting off on that every single day, because I know that you have developed that practice way better than I have.
No. I don't do 20 minutes. And what Carter's talking about is the blue pearl is called the Nila Bindu. It's a scriptural reference to that connection that one has when thoughts are stilled and you are in God mind consciousness. That's what he's talking about.
But it's available for all of us.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you're pretty good at it. You're really good at it. I'll give you credit.
Carter, are you asking?
I'm asking you.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
Sometimes I have to ask you to ask me. So the more you practice, the better you get. It's just like playing the piano or learning a new language. If we don't practice, we don't have as many skills. And when I first started meditating, it was really, really tough. And so now I have been meditating for 50 years. I mean, 50 years I've also been doing yoga, so my body is supple. I have no pain, whereas most people my age are always complaining of aches and pains. And so you reap the benefits of your effort. And so to start to have a meditation practice sometimes just means you have to research. Who's the best teacher? Who rings my bell? What do I really get the experience from? And for me, I went to many, many different teachers, tried many, many different techniques. And today I use what's called a walking meditation technique, where I'm repeating mantra, a special mantra that rings my bell, that puts me in that connection almost continuously. So I don't even do a formal sit for meditation. Very rarely. I mean, very rarely. And when I do, it goes deeper. It goes deeper, obviously, because you don't have the distraction of what's happening when you're walking around. But there's many different techniques. There's many different teachers. And I put up on my YouTube mind stillers, which I haven't done for quite a while, but there's lots of them up there. And so what technique did you finally arrive at, Carter? What were you more comfortable with?
Well, I'm still experimenting. It's this talk encouraged me to keep exploring new things, because I basically have it in my mind that there's one way to do this, but there isn't one way to do this. And I think I'm different than a lot of people. I'm kind of an ADHD guy. I've got my own things, and so I think it fits right in with everything else in life that we all. First of all, it's a practice, a meditation practice. That means we practice it and we do it every day. And the second part is that there's a lot of people that have been successful doing it over the years, and so I've explored a lot of those people, and some of the stuff works better than others. But there's an endless new little things to try, and just like all the other new things that I'm exploring these days and trying to be new and have everything be new and interesting.
Like getting rid of old stuff that we don't need.
Yeah, and just trying new stuff.
And seeing the interconnectedness on a walk.
And continuing to try. And I think I've been doing that the last 6 months. One of the things I've been doing kind of trying to get in touch with what's down deep inside and quiet. I spend a lot of time sitting quietly, more than ever, and it's been good. It's enriching to sit quietly and just watch the bird go by, or just sit.
Something that children do. Something that's good to revisit. Yeah. But as adults, we think, oh, it's a waste of time.
We're busy.
We should be
Not
making that cake, or going to close a deal and making more money. So
what did we do today? What did I do today? I'm always thinking about what did I do today. But that's really not the issue.
So for you, just as a little recap here, for you to feel that life is exciting each day and new and not just the same old life, you've actually explored some new avenues of how to live your life. You've reinvented yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm trying to do it every day. And trying to be aware of it, because it's easy to forget, and then the next thing you know, you're kind of wallowing around on some crap that happened to you 20 years ago that you're still pissed off about. I mean, that's the place that I always fall back into, and I have to stop doing that.
I have to say, it's so ironic, because I was texting my girlfriend who lives in Amsterdam. She's been suffering from depression for the last year and a half, and she's a nurse. She's also a yogi. She's a meditator and everything like I am, but somehow her life just took her to a dark place. So she decided to go on to antidepressants, and I think she was using Prozac. And she was texting me today that she is ready to reinvent her life, just like we're talking about, but she is deciding she's weaning herself off of Prozac and using an ayahuasca shaman that she's flying in from Peru.
Oh my God.
So everybody has a different way of reinventing themselves, and just like different ways of meditating. Who's to say that that's not going to work for our good pal Maria? And who's to say that your form of meditation is maybe like Eckhart Tolle? He doesn't meditate. He's totally in touch with what he calls presence, and he feels it, and he's connected. And I've been in, workshops with him, and he says, I don't meditate, because he has gotten to that place where he's just connected.
Yeah, well, that's really what meditation tries to get you to do, is to be on the now. If you can be on the now, then you're in tune with the cosmos because you're
Yeah.
here now. If that's the end game as far as I'm concerned.
And
It's
practice
just
makes
staying
perfect.
on the now.
He's probably spent a lot of time, as we know from Eckhart's revealing about how he's arrived at his wonderful state, which I think is a real boon. We're so lucky to have a spiritual teacher like Eckhart Tolle. But he spent a lot of time in that deep, dark place.
Yeah.
And a lot of time sitting on a park bench, which is probably his form of meditating, until he finally got to a place where it's almost like Buddha under the Bodhi tree. He got it. He just got it, from reading this and exploring that and putting it all together, and biblical and Quran and, the Buddhist texts and all this and that. He put it all together, and that is how he sustains that connection, because he did so much work.
And he keeps it new.
Yeah.
And if you're on the now, everything is new all the time.
Oh, that's great.
So,
well, welcome
there it
back,
is.
Carter. I'm glad. Of course,
Okay.
we have always been together, folks. Just because Carter was not podcasting with me, we have a beautiful, wonderful, it'll be 35 years this October. And Carter was going through his quiet time, and I just, had some solo episodes here to maintain the continuity, like I said before. And so welcome back, Carter. This is a new rebirth also for ZLORD.
There you go.
Okay.
We're getting ready to go on a boat trip, too.
Well,
talk
we didn't
about
even
that
talk
later.
about, we'll talk about that some
Okay.
other time. We've been
In a
preparing
minute.
the boat.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Om Namah Shivaya. And if
See you later.
anybody has not told you recently, we love you. I love you.
There you go.
Do you
baby.
love? Do you
Yeah,
love?
I love you.
Okay, Carter.
I love you.
Bye bye.
All right, see you later.